Marcus had dreamed of this moment for years, pulling into the driveway of a home that truly felt like it was his. The mansion stood proudly at the end of a quiet tree-lined street, with fresh white paint, tall glass windows that caught the afternoon sun, and a wraparound porch perfect for morning coffee. He'd worked his way up from a small apartment to this place, pouring years of effort into building his tech business, until it finally paid off. 2 weeks earlier, he'd moved in with nothing but excitement in his heart. At first, everything seemed perfect. The lake shimmered just a short walk away, kids rode their bikes down the street, and most neighbors gave him polite waves. But there was one exception. From the very first day, he noticed her, a woman in her late 50s, who lived directly across the street. She had short, neatly styled hair, always wore crisp clothes, as if she was attending a meeting, and seemed to spend a lot of time sitting on her porch. Her eyes followed him every time he came or went. No wave, no smile, just an unblinking stare, as though she was studying him. Marcus brushed it off at first, telling himself she might just be curious about the new neighbor. But as the days passed, her constant watchfulness started to feel less like curiosity and more like suspicion. She didn't just glance. She tracked his every move: when he took out the trash, when he checked his mail, even when he stood in the yard talking on the phone. It was an odd kind of welcome, one that left Marcus wondering what her problem was. Little did he know, this quiet staring was only the beginning of something far bigger. At first, Marcus decided not to overthink it. After all, new neighbors can be curious. And maybe the woman across the street, whose name he later learned was Karen, just had a habit of watching people. But within a week, he began noticing something different in the neighborhood's atmosphere. Conversations would suddenly die when he walked past. People who had waved on his first day now avoided making eye contact. A couple of kids who had been playing basketball in the driveway stopped mid-game when Marcus strolled by, their parents quietly ushering them inside. It didn't take long for Marcus to catch the whispers. One afternoon, as he collected his mail, he overheard two neighbors talking by the corner. Their voices dropped when they saw him, but not before he caught a fragment. That's the guy she was talking about. He didn't need to guess who she was. Karen's constant staring had apparently turned into a story, one she was eager to spread. Word around the block was that Marcus didn't actually own the mansion. According to Karen, he was just staying there until the real owner returned, a story she told with such confidence that some people believed it, without question. She even hinted that Marcus might be up to suspicious activities, though no one seemed to know exactly what she meant. The strangest part was that Karen didn't try to speak to Marcus directly. She never knocked on his door or asked him anything to his face. Instead, she built her narrative in the shadows, planting doubt in the minds of everyone around. Marcus, still trying to be a good neighbor, stayed calm, but the unease was growing, and the storm she was brewing was about to break. It was a warm Saturday afternoon when Marcus decided to run a few errands. The sun was shining, a light breeze rolled in from the lake, and the neighborhood was unusually quiet. He picked up groceries, a few things for the house, and even treated himself to fresh flowers for the dining table. Pulling into his driveway, he felt relaxed, until he noticed movement across the street. Karen was on her porch, phone pressed tightly to her ear, pacing like she was giving urgent orders. Marcus thought nothing of it at first, unloading his bags and unlocking his front door. But within minutes, the faint wail of sirens grew louder. He turned around to see two police cruisers rolling down the street, lights flashing. His heart sank. There was no accident, no emergency, except whatever Karen had just reported. The officers stepped out cautiously, their hands resting near their belts. One of them called out, "Sir, can we speak with you for a moment?" Marcus, confused but calm, nodded. "What's going on?" he asked. The answer came from Karen herself, who had crossed the street, arms folded and lips curved into a smug smile. "That man doesn't live here," she said firmly, like she was delivering the final piece of evidence in a trial. The officers explained that they'd received a call about a possible trespasser. Karen chimed in again, insisting she'd seen him around but never saw him move in. Marcus stared at her in disbelief. She had been watching him every day, yet here she was, acting as if he were a stranger. The street grew silent, a few neighbors peeking from their windows. Marcus knew this moment could go very wrong, or very right. Marcus took a deep breath, refusing to let anger control him. He set his grocery bags down on the porch and calmly told the officers, "Give me one moment." He walked inside, returning with a neat leather folder. Without a single raised voice, he handed it over. Inside was everything: the official property deed with his name printed in bold, the closing documents from the sale, and even the HOA welcome packet, complete with a letter addressed to Mr. Marcus Hill. The officers looked through the papers carefully, exchanging quick glances. One of them asked, "Ma'am, are you on the HOA board?" Karen hesitated, her confidence flickering for the first time. "Well, no," she admitted, "but I've lived here for 20 years, and I know who belongs here." Her voice was sharp but shaky. The officer closed the folder and turned fully toward her. "Then why have you been telling neighbors this man doesn't own his home? You've been watching him for 2 weeks and made a false report." Karen's face flushed deep red. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The smug expression she'd worn earlier had completely vanished. A few neighbors had stepped outside by now, curious about the commotion. They watched in silence as the officer continued, "Ma'am, this could be considered harassment. If it happens again, there will be consequences." Karen looked small suddenly, her shoulders drooping as if the weight of the moment had finally sunk in. Marcus remained calm, offering a polite nod to the officers. He picked up his groceries, thanked them for their time, and walked inside. The air felt different now, lighter, freer. The balance of power on that street had just shifted, and Karen knew it. From that day forward, the neighborhood felt different. Marcus noticed it the very next morning when he stepped outside with a cup of coffee. The air was crisp, the lake shimmered in the distance, and for the first time since moving in, he felt truly at home. Neighbors who once avoided his gaze now greeted him with smiles and small talk. A couple from 2 doors down even brought over a welcome basket, apologizing for any misunderstanding. Marcus knew exactly where that misunderstanding had started, but he accepted their kindness with grace. As for Karen, the transformation was just as visible. She no longer sat on her porch for hours watching the street. If she saw Marcus, she would glance away quickly, her earlier confidence replaced with awkward silence. The bold, self-proclaimed rule enforcer of the block had lost her authority in one afternoon. Word had spread quickly about the police visit and the truth behind her false claims. Marcus never rubbed it in, never raised his voice, and never sought revenge. He didn't need to. The quiet respect he now received from the community was enough. People began to see him for who he really was, not the stranger Karen had painted him to be, but a hard-working man who had earned his place there. One evening, as the sun set over the lake, Marcus stood on his porch, feeling the warm glow of the day fade into a peaceful night. The tension, the whispers, the stares, all gone. Karen remained in her house, her porch empty, her voice absent from the neighborhood gossip. And Marcus, he finally felt what he had wanted all along, to be welcomed home. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, drop a comment, and share it with friends. Don't forget to subscribe to The Silent Side USA for more powerful real-life stories.